Welcome to the BSR Travel Podcast, your weekly dive into the vibrant world of music tourism. Produced by Black Soul Rhythms Radio, we're here to share the latest news, inspiring stories, and unforgettable destinations that connect culture and adventure. Each episode is crafted for travelers like you, those who seek authentic experiences and love to discover the African diaspora through travel. And now, let's explore what's new this week in the world of music tourism.
Welcome back, everyone, for another deep dive. This time it's into a collection of really fascinating cultural moments. I mean, you can think of it like we're going to be your guides through some of the more interesting things happening out there right now.
Yeah, exactly.
From concert buzz, announcements and travel that's inspired by music and rhythm to even like the story behind one of those like really cherished childhood shows that sticks with you, and then like a dance phenomenon that is seriously taking off right now. It's really cool.
Absolutely.
And our mission today is to really try to pull out like the truly engaging stuff, the insightful nuggets, and connect these different worlds, these different stories in a way that gives everyone listening like a richer understanding of what's happening.
Yeah, I think that's key, right? Like we've got, sounds and stories and movements to explore. And we really want to highlight not just like what is happening, but also why it might resonate with people,
Yeah.
and what it might actually tell us about the broader cultural landscape.
Yeah, absolutely.
Like what's going on out there.
Yeah, for sure. So to kick things off, I think we should jump right into some music news that has got me personally really excited.
Okay, well, let's do it.
Ledisi, the super talented R&B and jazz artist, who just won a Grammy, by the way,
Yes.
announced her Love You 2 tour in support of her new album, The Crown.
Nice.
So this tour kicks off in late May of 2025 and runs through June. But what's really cool is who she's bringing with her on select dates.
Oh, really?
Marsha Ambrosius, Rasan Patterson, and Kindred the Family Soul are all going to be opening for her.
Wow.
I mean, talk about a lineup.
That is a serious lineup of soulful voices.
Oh my gosh.
I think Ledisi's Grammy win really does underscore her position as like a leading voice in contemporary R&B and jazz. And then, you bring in Ambrosius Patterson and Kindred the Family Soul. I mean, that just adds like layers of, richness and history to the tour.
Oh, for sure.
And, each of those artists has their own dedicated following, and it's a significant body of work. So I really think these shows are going to be a huge celebration of soulful music.
Oh, absolutely. And to keep that excitement going, we also have news of a UK tour from an absolute icon, Diana Ross.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, her Symphonic Celebration Tour is what it's called. And it's going to feature her performing her timeless hits.
Oh, wow.
With a full symphonic orchestra behind her.
That's amazing.
Can you imagine hearing those classic songs with that kind of power? I mean,
I know.
It's a really fascinating way to revisit such a legendary catalog,
Yeah, it's really interesting the way that this reframes her music.
Yeah.
Diana Ross's songs have always had a certain grandeur to them.
For sure.
And I think pairing them with a symphony orchestra could really amplify that inherent quality. And I think it's going to offer longtime fans a completely new way to experience those songs.
Yeah.
The tour includes 7 UK arenas.
Wow.
With a stop in Glasgow at the OVO Hydro on June 25th, 2025. So,
nice.
It's shaping up to be a pretty significant event for music lovers across the pond.
Absolutely. And to keep this international theme going, we've got Lala Hathaway, another incredible voice in soul, and R&B, who has a bunch of European dates scheduled for March of next year.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, she'll be performing in the UK, Bulgaria, Serbia, and Slovenia. So it seems like 2025 is going to be an amazing year for live soul and R&B music, no matter where you are in the world.
It really does. I mean, these tour announcements, I think, collectively speak to the enduring vitality of R&B and soul music. You have artists like Diana Ross exploring new sonic textures with an orchestra.
Yeah.
Well, you have contemporaries like Ledisi and Lala Hathaway who are continuing to innovate within the genre.
Yeah.
So it really highlights both the legacy and the ongoing evolution of these musical forms, and how they're staying relevant.
I love that. And, this whole wave of tour announcements got me thinking about how deeply intertwined music and travel are for so many people.
Oh, for sure.
Like you hear about these tours and you're like, oh, I want to go.
Yeah.
And speaking of which, we came across the BSR Travel Podcast. And this podcast specifically focuses on music tourism and culture within the African diaspora.
Interesting.
Yeah. So it sounds like an amazing resource if your travel plans are often driven by like your musical passions.
Absolutely. I think music tourism offers such a unique way to connect with a place and its people.
Yeah.
Like experiencing a city or a region through its musical heritage can really provide a much richer and more nuanced understanding of the culture there,
Oh, totally.
And for those who are drawn to the music of the African diaspora, a dedicated resource like this BSR Travel podcast could really open up some incredible possibilities for some really culturally immersive journeys.
I love that. And on a similar note, Black Soul Rhythms Travel was highlighted as a fantastic resource for planning like bespoke European trips.
Okay.
Particularly for those who want to go see artists like Diana Ross perform live.
Awesome.
Yeah, they really focus on creating those travel experiences that resonate on a personal and soulful level, which I think is really cool. And it brings up a good point for everyone listening. If organizing an international trip to see a specific artist feels overwhelming,
Yeah.
Travel Advisor, who specializes in these kinds of cultural experiences, could be a huge help.
That'd be a good point.
So their website is definitely worth checking out if that sounds like something you'd be interested in.
For sure. It's sometimes the expertise of someone who really understands the logistics and can curate experiences around your specific interests can really enhance a trip.
Yeah.
And Black Soul Rhythms Travel really seems to cater to that desire for a more tailored and meaningful travel experience.
Absolutely.
That's centered around music, which is really cool.
Yeah. So let's switch gears a little bit now to a different kind of cultural phenomenon. The story behind the beloved children's show, Gullah Gullah Island.
Oh, I love that show.
Me too. It's so great. And Natalie Days, one of the stars of the show, has been sharing some of the origin story on social media lately.
Oh,
and it's really quite moving. What really struck me was how deeply rooted the show was in Gullah Geechee culture.
Yeah.
And that it was inspired by Natalie and her husband Ron's own lives and their community.
That's wonderful. I mean, this is a great example of how deeply personal stories and cultural heritage can really find their way to a wider audience.
Yeah.
Gullah Island was more than just a children's show. It was like a genuine representation of a very vibrant and historically significant culture.
Yeah.
And for those who might not be familiar, the Gullah Geechee people are descendants of enslaved Africans who really developed a unique culture and language along the coastal regions of South Carolina and Georgia.
Yeah.
And they've preserved a lot of African traditions in their way of life. And the fact that the show grew out of Natalie and Ron Days' musical performances, celebrating this heritage, really speaks to its authenticity.
Absolutely. And it's so fascinating to me that their initial expression of their culture through music led to this influential television series.
Yeah.
It wasn't like a manufactured idea. It genuinely came from their life experiences and their desire to share that with other people.
Yeah. And I think that authenticity probably played a big role in the show's lasting impact. Children are often very perceptive. And I think a genuine connection to the material can really make a difference in how they engage with it.
Oh, for sure.
And how they remember what they see,
Yeah.
And Gullah Island really offered a window into a unique world, and it was presented with warmth and sincerity.
Yes, exactly. And for our final cultural moment, let's dive into something that's been popping up all over social media feeds lately.
Okay.
The really cool fusion of traditional line dancing with soulful house music.
I've seen this.
No, it's so cool, and often accompanied by the really beautiful and expressive use of hand fans.
Yes, the fans are amazing.
Have you come across these videos?
I have.
They're so captivating.
They are, and what's so immediately apparent is the incredible energy and sense of community.
Yeah.
In these gatherings, the way that people are blending the familiar structure of line dancing with the infectious rhythms of soulful house music is creating something that feels both grounded in tradition,
Yes.
but also completely fresh.
I love that.
And for those who aren't familiar, soulful house is a subgenre of house music that often features lush vocals,
Yeah.
jazzy harmonies, and a warm organic feel that often draws inspiration from soul and gospel music.
Yes, and it's not just putting new music to old steps.
Right.
The soulful house music seems to inject a real vibrancy and a contemporary feel into line dancing, making it feel more accessible and appealing to a wider range of people, including younger generations.
Yeah.
It's like a beautiful evolution of a tradition that we all know and love.
Exactly. Cultural forms are rarely static. They're constantly interacting with new influences, and they're always evolving as a result.
Yeah.
And I think the pairing of the structured movements of line dancing with the more improvisational feel of soulful house, that creates a really compelling dynamic.
Yes. And speaking of compelling, the hand fans.
Oh my gosh, yes.
I mean, they're not just props. They become extensions of the dancer's expression. And they add this visual layer and a sense of rhythm that's all their own. It's mentioned in some of the sources that this draws inspiration from various dance traditions where fans carry symbolic meaning and they're used to enhance storytelling through movement. The artistry is so striking.
It really is. The way that the dancers incorporate the fans into their movements just adds another dimension of grace and artistry. It's a beautiful example of how seemingly simple elements can be used to convey like complex emotions and rhythms.
Absolutely. And, beyond the visual appeal of it, all these gatherings seem to be fostering a really strong sense of community and connection.
Yeah.
A lot of sources highlighted them as safe and joyful spaces for self-expression and shared stories and a celebration of heritage, which I think is really meaningful, especially in the current social and political landscape.
It is. That communal aspect is so important. And dance has historically served as such a powerful way for people to connect, to share experiences, and to build solidarity with each other.
Yeah.
And in a time when we can often feel so disconnected, these kinds of in-person gatherings, that celebrate culture and foster a sense of belonging are just incredibly valuable.
Yeah, they are. And it's worth remembering that line dancing itself has a deep and meaningful history within Black culture.
Absolutely.
Serving as a communal activity for social gatherings, celebrations, even as a form of expressing unity. Think about like the electric slide at family reunions. Like it's a shared cultural touchstone.
It is. That historical context is key.
Yeah.
This isn't just a trend that's emerging in a vacuum.
Right.
It's building upon a rich tradition. And I think the innovation lies in the fusion with soulful house and the expressive use of fans.
Yeah.
But that underlying spirit of community and shared joy remains constant.
Yeah. And for anyone listening who might be intrigued by this, there are tons of communities all over that host regular line dancing events.
Oh, cool.
Featuring soulful house music and fan choreography.
Nice.
And they're open to all levels, no matter your experience.
That's right.
So the invitation is there to step in and experience the rhythm, the grace, and the sense of unity firsthand.
Absolutely. It's one thing to watch it online, but it's an entirely different experience to be a part of it.
Oh, for sure.
The energy of the music, the shared movements, the sense of connection. You can only really feel that in person.
Absolutely. So as we wrap up this deep dive, it's been so fascinating to see these threads that connect all these seemingly different cultural moments.
Yeah.
From the anticipation of live music from both legendary and contemporary R&B and soul artists to the possibilities of music-inspired travel, the deeply personal origins of a cherished children's show that's rooted in a unique culture, and then this vibrant evolution of Black cultural expression through the fusion of line dancing and soulful house.
These diverse pieces really do offer just a glimpse into a dynamic and ever-changing cultural landscape.
Yeah.
We're seeing these established artists continue to innovate and connect with audiences in new ways. And at the same time, we're witnessing these grassroots movements that are taking existing traditions, reimagining them with like fresh energy and contemporary sounds.
It's amazing, and it makes you think, considering the beautiful blend of tradition and innovation that we've seen in the line dancing example.
Yeah.
What other cultural forms might be ripe for like unexpected and joyful reinvention,
That's a good question.
It really underscores the idea that culture is a living, breathing thing that's constantly adapting and surprising us.
It is.
It's something to keep our eyes on and maybe even participate in as it continues to evolve.
Absolutely.
So thanks for joining us for another deep dive. We'll catch you next time.
See you later.
Thanks so much for listening to this week's BSR Travel Podcast. We're thrilled to have you as part of our travel-loving community. Remember, we'll be back next week at the same time on the same platform with more inspiring stories and cultural insights from the world of music tourism. In the meantime, visit us at blacksoulrhythms.com/subscribe and sign up for our weekly email. It's your personal dose of travel inspiration curated just for you. Until next time, safe travels.